Okay, so in this session I want to talk about supervision and the different kinds of contexts that it can be applied to. Very often people are uncertain as to what supervision is and how it differs from coaching, and what I like to try and explain to people is that, well, supervision is defined by the context that it's serving. So one of the key questions that we need to ask ourselves is it fit for purpose? So to give an example of a very specific context where it can be applied would be in supervising people who are mentoring young people. So where the supervisor may need to have quite a keen awareness of the kinds of issues in child protection, in people working with vulnerable young people, and really their job would be to safeguard the mentor and the mentee to ensure that the kind of ethics and boundaries are maintained appropriately, and that the mentoring is safe and effective for both parties. Supervision in that context takes on a very particular flavour, which might be different from, for example, supervising an independent coach, where there may be similar challenges, but also others will come in. So in determining what supervision needs to be, we really need to think about the context and the purpose, and who the kind of end user is, as well as the needs of the coach or mentor themselves. And within that we can think about the different kinds of formats that supervision can take. So there's one-to-one, which has the benefit of this undivided attention from the supervisor, helping you to explore your client issues, but also perhaps thinking about your longer term development with you. There's group supervision, which has the added advantage of being able to share and explore and learn from other practitioners. Supervision can be combined with CPD, so it can be part of other development, which then has a supervisory component, or it might also be tethered to qualification or accreditation processes, and again that seems to be increasingly common. So I want to talk a little bit about what some of the differences might be in supervising an internal coach versus working with an independent external coach. Not that those needs are always completely different, but there will be different challenges that come up. So if I'm supervising an independent coach, one of the things that often is important is related to the contracting and the way that the coaching has been set up, because that will be very different according to the clients that they're working with. In some cases it may be very closely contracted, and other times it might be a looser form of arrangement, and both of those will invariably impact on what happens in the coaching. Another aspect to that is where the coach is representing another coaching organisation, so essentially they're acting as an associate to, if you like, a third party to the coaching, and again that creates an interesting dynamic where in supervision what comes up is not just about serving the coachee, but also attending to the needs of the organisation that they're representing, as well as the sponsor and client, so it can become quite complex. On the other hand, working with internal coaches, that's very much coaches who are working within their own organisation, typically, not always, but will be likely to have had access to less development perhaps than people who are setting out to be professional coaches. And so they may have been equipped with tools and techniques that would help them in a specific context, for example, performance coaching. But then may find that they are struggling when it comes to coaching around more complex issues, or possibly more personal issues as well. And in that case, I think the supervisor has a role of introducing signposting to other kinds of resources, and that there may be a strong developmental function in working with internal coaches. Of course, the other dynamic is these are people who are coaching within the system or the organisation that they're part of, and so are part of the same culture. And one of the skills, I think, of the supervisor is to really help the coach to become more aware of, if you like, the matrix that they are part of, so that they can step back from that a little and see the impact that may be having. So in supervising internal coaches, that also then, I think, naturally leads to thinking about the role of supervision in the development of the organisation's coaching culture. It's not just supervising individual internal coaches, but it's thinking about how supervision is supporting the growth of coaching culture within that organisation. And I think that there's a role that supervisors can develop in relation to the organisation, which is about offering a feedback loop so that the themes that are emerging from coaching can be sensitively and confidentially played back to the organisation, so that it then can inform strategy and develop an understanding as to what sorts of things might need to shift and change moving forward to make the coaching most effective, and also to inform some of the decisions that the organisation's making. So just to sum up then, supervision can be many different things depending on the context. It needs to be fit for purpose. There will be different needs depending on whether you're supervising independent coaches or internal coaches. And if you are working with internal coaches, ultimately, I think we need, as supervisors, we need to keep the organisational context very much in mind.